Hey there, fellow soul travelers. It's your guide here from Flame Fusion Insights. And today I'm bringing you something unlike anything you've heard before. Grab your seat because we're diving deep into the unseen currents of the heart, the kind that can make you question everything you thought you knew about love. Let me take you back to a moment you might recognize. Have you ever had that feeling when you lock eyes with someone and suddenly your heart races, your mind goes silent, and everything around you fades? It's as if the universe whispers, "This is the one." But then, just as quickly, the doubts creep in. Is this real? Does it feel the same for them? That unshakable pull, that unspoken connection, it's not just chemistry, it's something much deeper, something ancient. But here's the kicker. When it comes to the divine masculine's experience of love, it's often not what you expect. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on the 7 surprising ways the divine masculine really feels and processes this bond. And trust me, it's not what society says. There's no glossy image of a perfect love story here. No, we're getting real, digging into the vulnerability, the confusion, and the moments that leave him speechless. Ever wondered if the one you're connected to feels it the way you do? You're not alone. I won't leave you hanging with just theories. I'm about to take you on a journey that unpacks how he truly experiences love, and spoiler alert, it's a roller coaster of emotions, energy, and maybe a bit of shock. By the end of this, you'll not only understand the bond better, but you'll also gain the clarity to navigate it with a newfound perspective. Stay with me as we uncover these 7 remarkable revelations that will have you questioning everything you thought you knew about love. Let's begin. Sign 1. The magnetic pull of destiny. In the vast expanse of the universe, there are moments when the divine masculine feels a quiet, unspoken force that cannot be ignored. It's not the kind of attraction that fades with time or distance, but a magnetic pull, a call from the soul itself. This is no fleeting desire. It's a beckoning from something far deeper, something timeless. The divine feminine's energy reaches out, a thread woven from the very fabric of the cosmos, drawing him nearer even when his mind tries to resist. I remember the first time I truly felt this pull. It wasn't in the touch or the words exchanged, but in the stillness between moments. It was a subtle shift in the air, a vibration that seemed to hum within my chest. I couldn't explain it, nor could I deny it. It wasn't just attraction, it was a recognition, a remembrance of something far beyond the 3D world. My heart seemed to know something my mind hadn't yet caught up with, and the magnetic force between us grew stronger. This pull, however, isn't just about physical presence. It transcends the realm of touch and sight. It's energy. The divine masculine feels it in his gut, in the quiet spaces where logic fails and the soul knows. And just as the stars are drawn to the pull of the moon, he too is irresistibly called to align with the divine feminine. It's a journey that beckons him, a destiny he cannot run from, no matter how far he travels. With each step, he inches closer to his purpose, and she is the magnetic force that makes it all possible. The call is inevitable. The path is set. Sign 2. The silent guardian of the soul. The divine masculine doesn't always show love in loud, grand gestures. Sometimes it's in the quiet moments, the spaces between words, where his love speaks loudest. It's in the subtle actions, the ones no one else sees, that he reveals the depths of his devotion. His instinct to protect the divine feminine, to ensure her safety and growth, is not always vocalized, but it's felt in every decision, every movement he makes. I recall a moment when I noticed this in myself. It wasn't an act of sweeping romance, but a small, meaningful gesture, taking care of something in my life that I knew would provide peace for her. I didn't even need to explain it. I knew it was my way of showing love, of creating a space where she could feel safe to be herself. It wasn't about seeking approval or validation. It was simply the quiet, invisible force of protection. The divine masculine's role as the silent guardian doesn't always translate to obvious acts of strength. Instead, it's the quiet resilience, the unspoken commitment to shielding the divine feminine from harm that becomes his truest expression of love. This protection isn't a barrier, it's the foundation upon which both can stand. It's subtle, but unyielding, like the steady pulse of a heartbeat, ever present, ever faithful. As this quiet protector, the divine masculine provides the space for the divine feminine to flourish. His protection isn't about dominance. It's about offering the freedom and safety to grow, to evolve, and to be seen. It's the purest form of love, silent, steadfast, and strong. Sign 3. The battle between heart and mind. A silent war rages within the divine masculine, one that can only be fought between the heart and the mind. On one side, his heart beats to the rhythm of spiritual truth awakened by the divine feminine's presence, an energy that calls him to something greater. On the other, his mind, tethered to the realities of the 3D world, urges him to stay grounded in the responsibilities that define his everyday life. This battle is not loud, nor is it simple. It's a quiet internal tension that challenges him to reconcile the higher calling of his soul with the demands of the material world. I've felt this pull myself, standing at the crossroads of choice where following my spiritual path seemed to pull me away from the practicalities of life. There were days when the weight of the real world seemed too heavy to bear, and I longed to leave it behind for the pursuit of higher truths. But I also knew that the life I was building, the job, the relationships, the responsibilities, held value too. It was as if every day I had to learn how to weave my spiritual journey into the fabric of my reality. For the divine masculine, this struggle is an ongoing dance, balancing between two worlds, bridging the gap between what the soul seeks and what the 3D world requires. The tension between the two realms isn't meant to tear him apart. It's meant to integrate the spiritual into the 3D, transforming both his inner self and the world he walks in. And in this delicate balance, he finds his true power, where the soul and the 3D world align. Sign 4. Reflections in the mirror of the soul. The divine feminine doesn't just stand beside the divine masculine, she reflects him. She is the mirror that reflects his soul, unveiling the hidden parts he's been unwilling to face. This reflection isn't always gentle. It brings forth his deepest fears, unspoken truths, and desires, often catching him off guard. Yet it is this very reflection that ignites his awakening, driving him to confront the aspects of himself he's avoided for so long. I remember the first time I felt this mirror in action. It wasn't through her words or actions, but in her presence. Her energy seemed to reveal things about myself I had never considered. My fears, the walls I built, and the parts of me that I thought were hidden, they all surfaced, not with judgment, but with a quiet call for healing. I felt exposed, vulnerable in a way that felt both painful and liberating. For the divine masculine, the divine feminine's mirror isn't something to run from. It's a vital part of his growth. Through this reflection, he's forced to face the parts of himself that are often buried beneath layers of self-protection and distraction. These truths may be unsettling, but they are the very tools that allow him to heal and evolve. This reflection, though uncomfortable, isn't meant to break him. It's meant to make him whole. It's a journey of becoming, of shedding the false self and stepping into the truth of who he truly is. And in this process, he moves closer to the divine feminine, not just as a partner, but as a guide on his path to self-realization. Sign 5. The shattered armor of vulnerability. Behind the strong, calm exterior of the divine masculine, there lies a vulnerable heart, one that has been hidden for too long. For years, this vulnerability has been shielded, buried beneath layers of stoicism, strength, and self-reliance. But the bond with the divine feminine cracks open the walls he's built around his heart, forcing him to confront what he's kept buried, his fears, his longings, his deepest truths. I felt this shift in myself during a quiet, unexpected moment. There was no dramatic revelation, no outward change at first, but in the presence of the divine feminine, I felt my armor begin to crack, the weight of my emotions rising to the surface. I could no longer hide from them. It wasn't about weakness, it was about strength in surrendering to what I had long suppressed. The divine feminine does not ask for perfection or for the divine masculine to be unbreakable. She simply holds space for him to be real, to be raw, to be human. In this sacred space, his vulnerability becomes his greatest strength. Through this unguarded truth, he learns to heal and rediscover parts of himself that were hidden for too long. This dismantling of armor is not a loss, it's a rebirth. The vulnerability that once felt like a weakness becomes the gateway to deeper connection, greater love, and the beginning of his true self-realization. In embracing this raw, unshielded truth, the divine masculine finds freedom. Freedom to love fully, to be seen, and to be whole. Sign 6. The struggle for spiritual awakening. Sign 6. The struggle for spiritual awakening. In the quiet moments of reflection, the divine masculine often faces an unsettling truth, a deep spiritual disconnect. It's as if the path to his higher self is shrouded in fog, and the very love he seeks feels out of reach, slipping between his fingers like sand. His mind, grounded in the 3D world, struggles to comprehend the vastness of the soul's journey, caught in a tug-of-war between the material and the mystical. I've felt this struggle personally, when the search for meaning seemed endless and the deeper truths of love felt distant, like whispers on the wind. It was hard to connect with the spiritual side of life, to integrate the mystical dimensions of love into the realities of everyday existence. The call of my higher self was there, but it often felt muffled by the noise of life. Enter the divine feminine. Her energy is the bridge that connects the divine masculine to his spiritual path. She doesn't force him to change, she simply holds space, offering a gentle pull toward the light he's been ignoring. Through her presence, he is reminded of what he's capable of the depth of his soul. It's through her love, patience, and energy that he begins to reconnect with his higher self, starting the journey of awakening he had long avoided. This awakening isn't a sudden shift, it's a gradual unfolding. And as the divine masculine embraces this spiritual awakening, he steps into a deeper connection with both himself and the divine feminine. I'd love to hear your stories. Have you experienced this struggle for spiritual awakening? Share your thoughts in the comments. Sign 7. Unspoken vows of eternal loyalty. Love doesn't always need words to be understood. In the quiet spaces, where actions speak louder than voices, the divine masculine's loyalty reveals itself in the most subtle of ways. It's the silent promise, made not in declarations, but in the invisible threads of devotion that bind him to the divine feminine, even when they are apart. This vow is woven in moments of distance, in the decisions made without a second thought, sacrifices made without the need for recognition. His loyalty is felt, not heard. I've experienced this in my own journey. It wasn't a loud, proud display of devotion. It was in the small, seemingly insignificant moments where I chose to act, not for myself, but for the well-being of the one I care for. It was adjusting my life in ways that weren't obvious to the outside world, but necessary to keep the bond strong. I wasn't looking for acknowledgement. The act itself was a reflection of my commitment to her, quiet yet steadfast.
For the divine masculine, this silent loyalty often comes with a weight of responsibility. He understands that the bond he shares with the divine feminine transcends the need for constant verbal reassurance. It lives in the quiet sacrifices, the steady presence, and the continual commitment to making space for her, even in silence. The vow was eternal, a promise to stand beside her, even when words fail. This unspoken bond doesn't require explanation. It simply exists. In the quiet, the bond grows stronger. Sign 8. The phoenix rising through her flame. In the depths of the divine masculine soul, there exists a dormant power waiting to be awakened. This awakening doesn't come from a place of comfort, but from the fire of transformation, the kind of fire only the divine feminine can ignite. Her energy acts as the spark that sets his very being ablaze, forcing him to face his shadows and rise from them, reborn. She calls him not just to love her, but to become everything he's always been capable of, pushing him to step into his fullest potential. I remember this moment in my own journey, when everything seemed to unravel. It was in the presence of the divine feminine, where I was forced to confront parts of myself I had long buried, my fears, my insecurities, the aspects of my being I thought I had outgrown. It felt like a personal reckoning. But as I stood there, vulnerable and raw, something shifted. The intense heat of this process didn't break me, it refined me like steel in the forge. The divine feminine doesn't allow the divine masculine to remain stagnant. Her energy is the catalyst for his growth, pushing him through the flames of self-discovery and into the light of enlightenment. This fiery process, though uncomfortable, is what leads to his rebirth, a new version of himself, one that can stand proudly in his power. Through her flame, the divine masculine is reshaped, reawakened, and renewed. The journey isn't easy, but it's necessary, an essential part of his evolution. As the journey unfolds, it becomes clear that the path of twin flames is not always a smooth one. It's a process of constant growth, deep transformation, and profound healing. Through each moment of challenge and awakening, both the divine masculine and divine feminine push each other to become the best versions of themselves. Together, they create a space where love is not just about unity, but about individual evolution, a constant dance of pushing, pulling, and coming back to the self. It is in the quiet moments that we often find the most profound lessons, the subtle yet undeniable shifts that shape us. Whether it's the divine feminine's quiet strength, guiding the divine masculine through the fire, or his unspoken loyalty holding the bond together through every storm, the journey isn't about perfection. It's about presence, vulnerability, and the willingness to stand in truth, even when it's hard. The twin flame journey is not about reaching a destination. It's about continually stepping into the fire, letting the flames refine us, and allowing ourselves to rise from the ashes, stronger, clearer, and more connected to our truest selves. This process is sacred and deeply transformative, requiring patience, trust, and a willingness to surrender to the unknown. May you continue to walk your path with love, light, and the courage to embrace the depths of your journey. As always, stay present, trust the process, and remember, this is just the beginning. Thank you for sharing this space with me. Until we meet again, keep evolving, keep growing, and most importantly, keep loving.